Love this.
I love it.
Characterless, but if I can choose, I'd be a rogue alchemist. I love
Ooh,
this.
love that.
I'm here
so
for
much
the
character
backstory.
depth on that.
All right, everybody, welcome to our special May the 4th be with you
Yes.
nerd webinar episode of Maker Stories. My name's Maria
Yes.
Marquis. If you don't know who I am yet, I'm the Chief Cheerleading Officer here at Coda, which means I just love to celebrate our makers, the act of making, and just nerding out on Coda. Also, I am a professional nerd. And I love Dungeons and Dragons more than words can say, which is why I'm so excited that I could bring Coda and D&D together. Now, lucky for all of you, I am joined by the incomparable Dan Deemers. Dan, you want to introduce yourself to the group so they can know a little bit about you and who you are?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Maria. My name is Dan Deemers. I am a professional nerd as well. I joined Maria on that and have a wonderful time being a nerd. I'm just going to turn this beautiful atmospheric music down just a hair, not up.
I was like, it's getting super atmospheric.
Yeah, the atmosphere is so rich. I am a customer champion at Coda, and I'm joined with an amazing group of people who go out into the world and help support our amazing makers and community members every single day. And I am so proud to be on that team and help people create. And because of that, and because of all the things that we learn and do every day, I had started DMing and being engaged in the D&D world so early that I actually started using Coda before I was part of the team. So I have this, it's very fun, and we'll get into it more. But really happy to nerd out with all of you on this wonderful day, May the 4th, and share a little bit about our passions and this wonderful game of imagination and cooperative storytelling.
Yes, excellent. And also, just by way of some logistics, because Dan and I could talk about D&D and Coda for literally years. I'm not surprised by that at all. But we want to know about you and your questions. So as we're going through today, it is an open invitation. Anytime you've got a question, a concern, an emotional outburst, a bright idea, an amazing thought, or a side quest you would like to go down with us, please let us know by posting over there to chat. That is your direct line of communication to both Dan and myself. I'm watching that like a little hawk. My perception is a crit right now.
It's a nat 20. Yes.
So anytime you want to have a chat or have a question that you'd like to engage with us on, please go ahead, post to chat. Otherwise, let's get this party started. So Dan, as a dungeon master, what were some of the problems that you had that you needed to solve? Kind of what were some of the things you were thinking about before Coda came on the scene? What did you need to be able to solve for yourself?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges of a great DM or game master GM that we all face is organizing and keeping all of our thoughts and world building together into one fluid place, right? Yeah. Whether it's a binder, handwritten, if you hand wrote it in a Mead binder, we are not sponsored by Mead, but if you want to, hey, binder, print out, if you typed it up on the computer, you printed it out, you put it in a binder, whatever you needed to do it, you had to keep everything kind of organized and ready at a moment's notice, right? Yeah. And so for me, it was always challenging because the way that I am, my creativity is very much an overflowing monster. Like it just kind of keeps going, and it's hard for me to keep track of everything. And so what was happening is I'd have multiple small notebooks that I would take with me. And it's like, all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my gosh. And I'd have an idea and I'd write it down in a book in one of these things that I'd have. And then all of a sudden I've got 5, 6, 7, 8 books. And I'm like, where did I put that? Where did I put that piece? Or where did I know I thought of it. What was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's a challenge and a universal issue for a lot of DMs and GMs is that how do I keep everything together into one? How do I easily access and keep things going? Especially when you have a group that meets regularly, right? Yeah. Because sometimes you're trying to create on the fly, or you're trying to create in moments of what do we want to call it? Improvisational moment building, right? And so you don't forget those things because you can't always record, right? You can't always have, there's not a stenographer sitting next to me with the little thing typing away everything that I say so I can recall the record at the end of the game. But, you know, so I think that was like one of the biggest challenges and things that I think I faced, but I feel like a lot of other DMs and GMs face, is keeping things organized. You may be like a type A person that's like, I don't have that problem, Dan. I'm good to go. And to you, I say, share your skills, please. But you could do a lot of different things. There's many different ways that you can keep track of stuff, but it is like the primary piece. Right?
It's almost like you need to have a second brain, right? Like, where is this other brain that I can access very quickly? I can get through it all. And what Dan is not telling all of you lovely people is that the party that he currently DMs for, my party, is full of a lot of chaotic good characters, which for those of you who are unfamiliar with the chaotic good alignment, it's like, we're always going and, you know, following the rules to do the best thing possible, but we don't have any sort of rhyme or reason for why we do it. So oftentimes we have to pull Dan into side quests. And then of course we're like, you know what? Hey, let's go visit Dave the Camel, which is a character that Dan just made up on the fly one day, but now Dave the Camel is canon.
He is a real thing.
Being able to have this evolution, right? In addition to being able to find those things really quickly, recall those things really quickly, but also being able to have that shift and change as the collective storytelling unfolds. I love that. So Dan, let's see, how did you tackle solving this problem? Let's take a look at your doc.
Oh, okay, here we go. So I'm going to share this with all of you. It comes from a much larger doc, and we'll go over that. But I've redacted certain things, obviously, because Maria is here with me, and spoilers, and we don't want to do any of that. So I will share this doc with you. This is the first kind of iteration of my doc. Can everyone see that, Maria? You can see that we're all good.
Looks beautiful.
Great. Okay. So the way that I use this is basically this second brain type that you've been talking about, Maria. And what I love so much about this, and we'll go into the reasons why I use Coda the most. It is an unbiased opinion, I promise, but after using many different things. But you can see here the way I've got it set it up. We've got the main, just kind of a generic catch line that if in the beginning, this was me writing things down just to talk, like, okay, this is what it's about. This is where we are. This is the overarching kind of theme, what's happening. And we go into one of the map of the world, so you guys can all see this is the world that was created for the game. It's ready so that if they have any questions, anybody has any questions in the game that they want to, like, okay, well, what about this place, or where did we come from, or you know, what was the last 3 place, you know, we went to, or whatever. It's I can easily call up the map and go, okay, look, you were here. I can share my screen if we're doing Zoom, you know, whatever. I have officially nerded out multiple times, as Maria can attest to. I will get these printed, so that they are there to, you know, view and see as a group. Yes, I do integrate humor into everything that I do. That's why we have this play on words island key area over here. But you can see it's just a great place to reference and do those types of things. As a GM, DM, there's always times somebody will ask you, like, what kind of magic is this? And I don't know if any of you other players or people in chat or watching today are DMs, GMs, sometimes your brain just fizzles and you go, I don't really know. I don't really know what that is. So
cool magic.
It's really great magic, and you understand it, and people don't, but other people don't. But so I created this board that's just kind of like, let's talk about the different types of magic. So on a recall in a moment, I can click here, go through and go, I think it's, you know, evocation. I think it's, you know, whatever. And just as a reminder, this, our game specifically is based off the Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast 5e edition, which is the newest edition. And a lot of the rules and bits and bobs are based off of those.
Because nobody's got time for D&D 4 or 3. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who still play it and they're super passionate about it, and I love that for them. I think our group, and I'll share this, but our group was made up of a lot of people who had never played before. It was a creative, safe, open space for people to try this thing that they'd heard so much about but wanted to try and were too nervous. And for me, I love that because I love allowing people to just try. And
Yeah.
make mistakes and try, do random things. We had one player who decided one time they're just going to walk. They just wanted to walk for 45 minutes into nothingness alone. And like the whole party was like, are you going alone? What are you doing? I just need a walk. I just need air. And so for them to be able to choose that and do that and not know where they're going. Meanwhile, in my brain, I'm quickly constructing Legos and like world pieces of like what they're going to do. Yeah. Right. Whatever it may be. To have that ability for them to express themselves creatively is paramount for me. So,
hashtag
anyway,
chaotic good.
Hashtag chaotic good. So this is the Schools of Magic. The other thing I've got is the city names Unused.
Ooh.
Right. So what we do is there's all these different places in the world. And as the players go through it, you have to remember as a DM GM, your players are just playing around in your imagination. Right. And your imagination is boundless, but does have, a fog of war around certain pieces that you have yet to do. We'll call it that. And sometimes when they're playing, something will inspire you to create a city, create a name for later use. This is just a list to keep track of that. Right. So you don't forget those names or forget those things. You could also have a whole, I don't have it on here for spoiler reasons, but there's also character names unused. So when your characters say, hey, I'd like to flag down that guard. And you're like, okay. And they walk up and, they have a conversation and the guard's like, I don't really know, or, whatever. Chances are when you have a don't talk to me. I mean, I'm supposed to be quiet. But 9 times out of 10, if you have a party full of chaotic people, they're going to be like, what's your name? And so, it's good to have that list so that you could be like, it's Chad. My name is Chad, or whatever. And so you can then, what I love too, is you can actually select this list and turn it into a checklist, right? So when you use, and we're doing a little demo here, but whatever, when you click it, it's like, okay, I've used that name. I can't use it anymore, right? And then you can use those notes to kind of go back and do that kind of stuff. Also, this is one of my favorite things. This is my player module, and you're all going to get like a little fun little peek at our players. But inside the player module is basically everyone's backstory, and I won't go into it. But underneath each piece, each character is the building blocks of what they've created for themselves, and then underneath that is all of the narrative, creativity, story arc that I've woven together for each character. And you can do that. So what I'll do is I'll go into the retired characters.
Talk more.
So they're all there. You can see it's just basic information on what's going on with their character. Originally, this was just supposed to be a guest character. It turned into a player character. But these are all places that you can really expand on the creativity and generation of the characters.
And something that just from the outset, sorry to interrupt, Dan. One thing that I think is so cool about, because Dan has all of this logged here in this doc, he actually is giving himself more freedom for creativity to then weave things together. So for example, Dan started with the map, but then because Dormir happens to be like from a criminal underground, he actually was like, oh, I'm going to actually have Dormir's criminal past be in this city over here that's on the map. And then I'm going to weave it together. Oh, it turns out that this new character is from this. So maybe I'm going to connect it. So by having it all documented here, it makes it so much easier for Dan to be able to connect and make these links, which as a player then feels so magical, right? And if I'm thinking about, the business world, the same thing can happen. If we have it all documented in our second brain, we're then able to more readily see those connections because we're not putting in all of those extra brain cycles on just remembering all this stuff, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, Dan, I just had to interrupt with some flavor text there. Go for it.
No, you're totally fine. I mean, looping it into the real world? What? Who are you? So it's a great way, like Maria's talking about, of kind of bringing and stitching everything together. You have to understand that this doc is, although it's just a quarter of my brain, this is probably about almost 1.5 or 2 years of writing, stitching, integrating, building, all this kind of stuff. And you'll see a little bit more of that coming up. So anyway, this is the player block, right? And these are where you can keep things and do things and all that kind of stuff. One of the things, I'll go over that later, but like I had another thought, my brain split. I was like, one of the great ways that I love about Coda is like you can pin different things and put them up top. So if you're on a specific stream or quest of a character, you can pin stuff at the top like I've done up here. But we'll kind of go through that in a minute.
Cool.
This is one of the criminal undergrounds that I built for one of our players, but also through different world events that continues to happen. You can put all sorts of different things with people settings and things like that through here, so you can get iconography, photos, images, all this kind of stuff that you're building an entire world and a narrative of what's going on. Also skimming over that because there's some spoilers in there. This is one of the hardest pieces of D&D period. Books. When people find books, when they want to learn books, when somebody gives them a book, and you have to name it. And if it's a book, we've got like a book of wisdom that was found early on. I've put in the parameters in here. It's approximately 2 months of reading or 1,460 hours. And it was found in a library, and it was discovered and identified and all these types of things. But you keep track of the book so that people know, like, oh, I'm on this one, right? A history. This was a history book that one of our characters found early on. This was another one, another bit of scrolls and things to tell a story about a specific character's history. Right, so you can see that this is more of a narrative with some different character building and things of that nature.
And one thing that you'll do I know for the Sisters of Moa in particular, because I remember this moment, what Dan actually does sometimes is he'll just print one of those pages as a PDF and then send it to the character, so that the person who read it now has the full text of that book that they can refer, because some of our characters take a lot of notes and some of us don't. And so it's nice to kind of have this as a bit. And Dan, we actually have a question, which is, do we ever share subsets of these pages with players? So I kind of chatted a little bit about, sometimes you can share the PDF, but do you want to chat a little bit about how else you think about that?
Yeah, so great question. I do share subsets of pages. Sometimes if it's a table, I'll use one of our packs called Cross Doc, and I'll create a player doc that they can go into, and then I'll cross doc that data into their doc for them. At one point, you'll see down here under shops, there was a tattoo parlor.
Yes.
That kind of gave different attributes and different things. So what I did is I published a version of this page for the players, and then I just linked it in a chat. Right, so that they could click it, and then they could go, and then they could see, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to do this one. Can I do this one? Can I do that one? Yes, magic tattoos. I got
am the
100% behind them, which is down here. This one. So the tattoo features resembles jagged sides. Yeah. So it's like there are different things that they can do. In this specific instance, there was somebody that they had met who was a part of a resistance group, and they had decided to join the resistance group to help kind of establish a better regain control of this area that had been lost to, the BBE, Big Bad Evil, at the time.
And to get a discount on tattoos by joining the resistance.
And to get a discount, yes, the friends and family discount on tattoos. But you can do that where I take the data and I will actually publish it on like a player guide, and then I will share that link with the players so that they can just go and look through it, and they're not digging through the main doc, because I feel like if anybody goes into the DM doc, it's very much don't press the red button, and it's a big shiny red button that says press me, right? And so people are going to start looking for different things and doing different things. So it definitely works really, it works great. Let's talk about my next favorite piece. I mean, I love it all really, but because I'm a nerd, but zones. How do we do zones as a GM? You remember the world map here. All of these are different zones. And the way that I've kind of built our world is that this is the, super high space looking down view. But when you get into the zone, everything changes and is way more detailed, right? It's a great way to kind of like zone in and do this. So I'll take you to the northern section. So if you remember, I'll do a quick flip. This is this section. Everyone can kind of see, you see there's like a lake and there's mountains and it's all sort of like beautiful and crazy and weird and fun, right? Now we go into the in-depth version, and then this is the in-depth detailed version of this zone. Right? So we've got the lake, we've got mountains, we've got different kingdoms, we've got different things, paths that they can travel, all sorts of different places for this zone and this part of the world. And I know you're going to see, we've got all of these different areas and concepts, story, people, all of it's in here. I've got like the overarching entry point, basic, what is this place, who's here, what's the system of, the ruling system, is there a class system, are they focused on one, like all of that generic world building stuff that's the good concrete foundation. That's what was on the main page. Then when I expand it, we go into super depth in each area.
Yes.
Right. So we talk about prophecies. We've got a prophecy in here that was, brought up by one of the groups. We've got family trees that we've kind of constructed so that if they ask questions about, where's my sister, where's my brother, who's my parents, instead of building out entire familial structures, it's like at a glance, we could talk about this, we could talk about this, we could talk about that. Okay. Each section has kind of a, what is this place? If there's a city attached, I usually put like a little map of what's going on, what the city looks like, or town. And then I've got like all of the characters in here. Now, I will share with you, this was iteration 1 of the characters of the world. You'll see where I go with it now. But this is just how I kind of did things in the beginning. It was like zone. What does it look like? How does it build? What are the people? And it was very much like 1 + 2 + 1 + 1, right? And so we got that kind of like infrastructure going.
And sorry
yeah.
to interrupt. We have a question
Please.
that I know you've got a great answer to.
From
Byron, which is, I know that music is key to creating atmosphere and can really help with storytelling. Can you have different songs that play when opening certain parts of the Coda Doc? Can you talk about how you think about battle music?
Yes, so much. I love music. That's why we had it playing when you came in. Music is an integral part to creating a world, right? Mm-hmm. And so the way that I do it is I will do one of two ways. I use Spotify for our game, and I have lists and lists and lists and lists and lists of all different thematic music that's kind of tagged in a certain way. So chase music, battle music, walking music, tavern music, creepy music, like I'll put them into mini playlists based off of like just general RP. Then for the games, what I do is I build what's called a chapter playlist, and I chapterize all of our games. So like chapter 14, 15, 20, and I'll build out music either on the fly, depending on what they choose to do, or I'll preload playlists of what I think they're going to do. And then what I do is I integrate that into the Coda Doc using the Spotify pack.
And Byron, we have a little, sorry, Dan, finish your thought. I'm just
go. Do it.
And Byron, we have a little D&D starter kit doc that we'll be sharing with everybody at the end, which has that built-in Spotify pack, so that on the page for the section you're in, it could be, in this case, Bromwich. Here's the Bromwich music. You can embed your Spotify playlist so that when you're DMing or GMing, you can then have it right there, press play, and be able to go. So yeah, sorry, 100%. Dan, go for it.
No, it's great. I am now that we have multi-column canvases, which I love so much, I'm playing with like rebuilding some stuff and putting different playlists and things embedded into the Coda Doc, because it just makes it more streamlined for my brain. I think in terms of like building and reading and like data. And so it's just a great way to do that. You can, I actually just caught this question. You could do original compositions through SoundCloud. And yes, you just take the link of the SoundCloud and you embed it into the Coda Doc. And you could do it as an embed, which allows you to hit the play button and it plays it directly from SoundCloud. And it's truly magical. I love original compositions so much. It's one of those things that like I'll often reach out to composers who are just getting started or love to do fantasy stuff, and we'll just talk to me about what it would take to build music for this campaign or this thing or this mood, or and doing all that kind of stuff. I think it's really great. Okay, so you can see in here progressively as we kept going, I started to kind of evolve in how I was thinking about different things, right? Like I started putting larger blocks as I drew, because I draw and build through different mediums and software. So I started to build out like different things, and then it was like going through here. Okay, well, what is this thing, and what is this, and sort of you can actually tag in the creatures that they're going to fight, right? So you click this button, you embed this this creature into the doc. You can click it; it'll immediately take you to the website, which will house all the stats and everything for that creature. So you can see this is where they got the tattoos from the Spark Rebels and like all this kind of stuff. We also did like Halls of History. So you can see like as we go through, each place had its own identity, had its own, pieces and parts to building out that zone. So in the beginning, which is what this was, in the beginning, I was very much focused on hand drawing, hand building, sketching, doing all that kind of stuff. Now I use software like Dungeon Draft or Wonder Draft, and they really help kind of streamline the creativity and help build things out. You can also use a lot of those maps on Dungeon Draft and Wonder Draft to use third-party gaming software like Roll20, Virtual Foundry Tabletop, which I totally adore and we've used before, and there's a bunch of other ones coming out to do that. So you can kind of see through everything as we were going through. I was building a lot of things out, different like this one. I put C Notebook because I had not yet moved it into Coda.
Yeah,
right.
But
and
I think
so
that's
like,
I think that's a great point, is that like what I love about this doc that you've made is that it's evolving with you, right? Like, oh, for this part,
yes.
I've got a notebook on that already. So I'm just going to say like, here it is. Or, all right, I'm going to write it all out here. And I'm going to start with text. Okay, now I'm going to add a table of people. And I just love that you've kind of given yourself permission to evolve how you plan in the same way that a campaign evolves. And I also love it, Thomas, is like,
yes, exactly.
Do they have an API for Dungeon Draft or Wonder Draft? What a good hack idea. Yes, I'm going to Google that while Dan keeps talking.
Yes. Thomas, really, just like every time somebody announces like some sort of new API or some new thing, it's like, oh, is there a way to work that into Coda for our game? Like, that's how much of a nerd I am. Like, I'll always think about the game first. But it's just it's just really interesting. And so, building all this kind of stuff out with the different zones, you can kind of get used to doing all that kind of stuff. Of course, we've got like the BBE, the Big Bad Evil, and you can do different things in there with all of that kind of stuff. I also talk about animals. Like our group was in a space where all of a sudden there was this creature, and one of our characters went, "Well, what is it?" And I sat there and I went, well, it's kind of like a beetle, and so what we were doing is I was like, okay, well, how do I describe this? How do I go through this? okay, well, it's kind of like a dung, like it smelled weird and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's a cousin to the dung beetle. And we made up this name of ouch beetles. And so it's like, okay, well, I need to keep a record of this so I don't forget it in case something else comes up or somebody else wants to go through or, whatever.
Because
So
we're going to
that's kind
follow
of what
the
this
ouch
animal
beetle
space,
campaign.
right? It's a sub campaign where everyone's a different type of ouch beetle. And the goal is to
Don't
get
tempt
from
me.
one root vegetable to the next. So then we go into like the different shops, right? We talked about the tattoo parlor, which I already showed you. This is a shop that's occurred in the thing. I haven't built it out on this version. This was originally, I just had a whole notebook full of magic items, who this person was, all this kind of stuff. The same with this one. Just put the 4 locations, didn't even finish the 4. So you could see, like, at this time when I was building, I was very much building on the fly and going with each week as we went through. And then it's kind of like that. I think it's Tyson DeGrassi, whatever that quote is. It's like, just know enough to get in trouble, right? Like just build out enough that should someone walk into this place and go, wow, what's this place? You have enough in your fanny pack of creativity, also known as a Coda Doc, that you can then pull out and like, well, it's it's a beautifully ornate wood shop that has many different armaments and blah 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 blah, and you're describing and going through all of the what does this place look like as they walk in, right? Okay, let's talk about the vault. So what I've done is, and I've redacted some of it so Maria doesn't get any spoilers, but I'm going to show you a little bit about where the document has evolved to. This is the main one. This is everybody in the campaign, meaning NPC, ally, neutral, or foe. And it's been built now in a way that is their name, who they are, what the relationship is to the people in the party, what type of person they are, ally, neutral, NPC, or foe, and where they can be found. And what I've done now is I've taken this entire table and I've conditional formatted it so that it's color ready in case I need to, on the fly, be like, okay, this person they're blue, they're an ally. I've trained my brain to color match different things, right? Obviously, it's not rocket science, right? We're not going like, this is a mauve. Well, that means that they have a complicated past. It could be swayed to become an ally. Like you do whatever's going to work for you as you learn how your brain functions, right? And then at the top, I've actually thrown in the different locations that I've built, right, that are associated with each of these characters, so that I can adaptively search where the party is and just pull up those people, right? So then I'm looking at like a quick interactive filter of, okay, we're here, quickly pull this up so you can see. Right now we're in the Scorched Wastelands, right? If I went to, I don't think I have Bromwich in here yet, but if I went Duraz and went here, the whole thing changes.
Tabitha!
Right? Yeah. So you only have one person right now because I haven't put them all in. But you see down here, these are all main characters to enter that I haven't entered yet, right? From the old doc to the new doc, right? So we've got all the Button family, Onsteed, Caleb Onsteed, who was literally somebody that they bumped into. And of course, somebody went, what's this? What's their name? So you have a whole list here that then you can actually just plug into, into the row, right? So if I go here and we just do that, and I'm going to do a new row and we'll just do it on the fly together, right? New row here, Edmund Button, right? Oh, it went away. I have to do this. Something's happening.
Oh yeah, it's just because you it's just filtered. Yeah, you cool.
I'm good. Just took my brain.
And you could do Dan, quick show the table search. How you can just like do that little search bit.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so Thomas, you could add Edmund Button with a button as well, right? Like Dan could add a button here being like add character button, and that could be a thing too.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So I could definitely do, here, right? And then build out a button that says, right, add row to characters of the world, right? So now let's make it more fun because it's better when it's fun.
And do open row for editing too, because
Yes,
that'll make
thank
it
you.
fun. Yes.
Yep.
We love an icon.
Right. Okay, so now I don't have to click this anymore. I can just click here, pull it up. Who's the person? Well, that's not a person's name.
That's my name. Quiet, shy
right.
bond with Grenolyn, first of her name.
Yep. And then you tell them who are they, what their relationship is, son of Marjorie, type of person, ally, location, Bromwich. Great, and close it. Right?
Gorgeous.
So now we get rid of this little side filter search here. And let's just say we're only looking at Bromwich. Oh, it did all of them.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
you did the unselect. Yeah.
I sure did. Bye.
It's because we have a new UI here, which I'm getting used to. I'm like, oh, it's so clean and pretty, but now I have to kind of change my thinking.
Right. Yeah. And that was easy. And that's how easy it is, right? So now I've got 2 blue allies that are pulled up in Bromwich. They're there. I know who they are. And it's all in the main database. Now, the cool part too is that I can go back into here. And this is one of the things I absolutely love so much. Let's say you're talking about these characters, right? And you're typing a narrative and, the quiet town was sleepy, but I can do at Edmund was wandering the streets, right? And if I hover over Edmund, it'll pull up everything that I have in the character database for that character. So you never have to flip back and forth on who is this, what's going on, what's happening. You can just mention that character, and then immediately it'll pull all of the data that you have in the characters of world table so that you can go through. Now we'll share with you in the newest version, the latest update that's still in process with everything else that I've been building. The other piece that I've done is I've added dialect. What kind of dialect is this?
Ooh,
what kind
nice.
of gravel? Like what's the effect of my voice for this character? Is it like, do I have to get? I'll put in the description like, get really close to the microphone and then do this, or whatever, so that it's like you can set up a character and build it. We had a great experience with a rat the other night, and there was all these different types of things that I put in there as ideas for this creation of this character. And so by doing that, whenever you mention something, it'll always reference back to the table with as much data as you want. You can sit there and be as descriptive and prescriptive as much as you want.
Yeah.
Brown hair, green eyes, quiet, reserved, gets angry when, you can put all these building blocks together so that when you hover over the name, it provides a whole list. Right?
Yeah, you could essentially do like the full character sheet of these NPCs, right? Like their bond, their flaw, their this. But I think also just like the accent piece, again, because it's like, it's your second brain. You're like, oh crap, I've got millions of people living in my head. How do I know what weird choice I made for them that one night? Like you can have it all there to build in your own consistency so that you don't have to be like, okay, hold on a second, let me hearties, right? Like you actually can just be
totally
right there. And Thomas, Thomas is saying, I'm thinking about this for playwriting and novel writing as well. Dan and I are going to be hosting another webinar a little bit later in the year, all about how we used Coda to write our novels that we're currently working on right now. So stay tuned. It works just as well for them.
And here's the other thing that I will share with everybody as with some of the newer features that have been released, right? I can come into here and I could do what's called a canvas column. And what I do now is I open up the character. If something happens majorly with the character or some event occurs that causes a foundational shift in a character's choice or road or journey, I open it up. And in here, I type in just like lost father's weapon in a battle was profoundly, was meaningful beyond anything, just so that it tells me exactly how impactful that thing was. And then I close it and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But when I pull up this character or reference this character, I'll have the option to go in here and see like, oh, that's right. During that battle, they lost this piece, this heirloom piece of their family, and it, caused all these things. And then because of my brain, the way it is, I'm like, can I work that into the story? Do we have a way to make that unique and tie in with other characters and things? So I also create a to-do list for myself, right? Something comes up, we create something together as a group, we create some sort of, because it's not just me. And I want to reiterate that. Like when you sit down at a table, there are many different times to play this. There are many different ways to play this game. And there are rules, and then there are the sliding scale of rules, right? And each of us determine how much of that engagement we want, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about having fun and having a memorable experience. And so sometimes we'll create all new things on the fly. And so I'll use the to-do list to simply to be like, in this case, I put enter the names from the Bromwich into the character database. Sometimes it's remember to build that item you gave to so-and-so. And, our party uses D&D Beyond to play because we're mostly, we're all over the map. And so we usually play online over Zoom. But sometimes I'll need to build something and put it into their inventory. So I leave this to-do list for me to do before the next week's game, or in some cases, within the next couple of weeks. This is the pride and joy at the moment. I pulled this over from from the newest iteration, which you will all see very shortly. But this is the interactive initiative tracker. And I love it so much because you can actually keep track of all your characters and where their health is at. But then you can also put in monsters, right? So maybe there's a mimic and there's 2 mimics.
No.
Right? And
what's worse than one mimic?
A skeleton.
2 mimics.
Right. So you can build out everything that this encounter is going to do. And then what I love so much is we've placed this monster tracker next to the monsters, and you immediately, like, you put in their life, maybe their life is 200.
That's a beefy mimic.
Because it's a big party, right? There's a lot of people, and you don't want it to be too easy, and you want them to, come to brush with mortality. So and you would fill in their
does like 50 damage when he's stealthy, so like
it's nothing. So rogues, man, look into rogues if you want to be kind of crafty. Anyway, so we've built this in so that we can track if it's a monster or not, which allows us to simply hit this button and add these monsters into a monster tracker below. And then as we're playing, everyone rolls for initiative, and we can put in people's names as we go through here, right? And then they just call out the number. So I'll go 25 to 20, and somebody can be like, 24. And then I'll get all the way down to, somebody goes, oh God, I'm sorry, I'm a 28, right? And you go, okay, no problem. You plug in 28 and it auto filters by initiative number. So you always have the most up-to-date parts of this initiative, right? And you can also add in, the monsters, and it's adaptive. So the minute you add the monster's name becomes a part of the tracker. And you can, so you can see here that maybe that there are 20, and then unfortunately, Marquise Dora, she only rolled a 15.
No.
Right. And so you just keep track of all this kind of stuff. The other cool piece that we built, which I'm really excited about, is effect. So do we not have that? Oh, it's not synced. You'll see it shortly.
Yeah.
It's not synced because I moved it from a different doc, but you'll see it shortly when we go into the next doc.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing is your party is doing damage to this monster, right? Let's say in one round, Dormir does 50 damage, right? Dormir. You type in the amount of damage and you hit damage, and it immediately pulls it off the health. So you don't have to sit there and do, I love sometimes to sit there with the math and do it, but you don't have to. You can simply plug in the amount and go from there. Then you delete it. Okay, next one, 15 damage. Oh God, this is the worst. They're killing my monsters so fast. Okay, legendary action, they heal. 28. It adds it back to the health.
Mimics back.
Right? So you can mimics back. So it's really adaptive, and it's just kind of a really cool piece that you'll get to use and when doing encounters. So this is kind of the D&D doc, my nerddom in visual form. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that, but you can see that the docs are they're very much a part of who you are, and you're only limited on what you can do by your imagination.
Yeah.
Because in case anybody has noticed, Coda continually rolls out new things.
It's true.
And so it's always changing, it's always adapting, it's always advancing, and there's always ways that you can do things. Yeah. So with that, like, I think it's a really cool time to show the next iteration of what we've been doing and how we've been doing it.
So Dan and I made a special gift for all of you. I placed the link over there in chat. We're calling it the Dungeons and Dragons Starter Kit because Dan and I were like, wait, Dungeons and Dragons can be something we do for our job. Let's make a starter kit. Let's do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is going to be a great way for all of you to get started with the things that Dan was showing you, because we translated what he had done for his campaign planning over here. So first of all, we have a little bit of our story, so you can learn a little bit about us. But under setting up a campaign, this is the setting up a campaign and the world builder are essentially what Dan showed you, but the next iteration that we made. So notice we've got multi-column, we've got narrative bit. You can do the code block to call out different areas. We're putting spells over here. So this, you can click on it and see all the details about it. This is just a view of a table. We've got maps here. Thomas, this is where you can put in your music, or Byron, sorry, the music. This is the Spotify pack embedded here. And notice we've got all that going on. We also have a table with, the days, what type of event it is, who they meet. So this is that character table that Dan was talking about. And then all of the notes. So if something happens, person goes for a walk, finds snow cones, you could put the notes here inside of that little canvas column right there, right? So this is a great way to start to combine all those things that Dan was showing you into our new place. And the world builder, this is essentially where we've got, again, Dan's map idea, and then the tables of the people of the world. So like Dan was showing you, and being able to add characters really quickly and all the details about them. The travel table, this is kind of, you can plan out what you're thinking about. So, okay, for the next session, I know we're probably going to go through this. I want to plan it out a little bit. And then also the locations. So, yeah, Dan, please.
Yeah. So like right now, a great example, the way we're doing it is the party currently is in the desert. And so what we'll do is at the start of the day, when they start to travel through the desert, somebody will roll a die, which will then tell us what type of day it is. And then in here, you can keep track of like what happens and within that construct of what's going on in the day.
And I just thought of something, Dan, we record sometimes our Zoom sessions. You can use the Zoom pack to then have a column in your table with like the recording so that you could revisit it if you wanted to, which would be kind of cool. Then the restricted section, Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about how you've, your reasoning behind the restricted section?
Yeah, totally. So the restricted section is just basically the GM's reference point, main brain. Okay, so you see the spell library. This is every spell that's been pulled into the game from 5e on the basis, and you can on the basic pack, and you can see the spell, you can see what it is, and this is just a view of a table, right? So you can look up, you can search any spell within the basic pack. It is organized by level, so you can go through and see different people's, if there's a different level, you can cast at a different level, whatever. It's just a really good reference point for GMs when you're building now. I use this when I'm building out NPCs or villains or encounters. I can quickly make cards of all the different spells that they have at the ready, so I know, okay, this one's good, this one's good, this one's good, whatever. And so it's just a really good reference point. Character database, this is the newest iteration. And so what you see here is this is the main database. Everything else within the starter pack will be a view of, right? And so you can still add stuff really quickly, but you're adding them to the main database rather than individual tables. It just keeps everything synced up, and then you have different possibilities to search and do things. Same with locations. These are the locations of the world. I use usually locations for lookups and things like that. You can take notes. Thank you, Maria, on the different areas and zones, but you just use that as a base point table to then reference and look up as you go along. This is where we get into
because we've got it linked right here, right? So all of our locations are here, and then we just have a lookup column so that when we meet Tomlin, right, we can hover over the dwarf's kingdom. We can also get all of our notes to remind ourselves all the details. So everything is linked so that all of the interconnectedness of D&D is captured because of the interconnectedness of tables and views in Coda. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, so in events, we got a list of things that could happen within events. Obviously, this list will grow and change as you come up with stuff. You know, I've seen things like quicksand. There's a quicksand. There's a dance battle. There's all sorts of different things. You know, there's a bake-off. I mean, it could be whatever you want to do, right? You could do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
You know, maybe you stumble into a tavern and you stumble into the middle of a competition that's a bake-off, and the winner, you know, wins, you know, a bag of gold or whatever. So you can put a million different right. You can totally build out different types of events so that you have a reference point moving forward.
I'm gonna add that.
Here's what I was talking about. Day 5. What do you do? Dance off, bake. Okay. Dance battle, David bake off.
Just
why not?
They
because
enter
it's fun.
a tavern. And it's exciting. And Bolin will be there too.
Yeah.
And this will be in the small village of. Done. Go ahead, Dan.
Great. Okay, so if we jump down to the next one, which is status effects, this is what I was talking about before. This is every status effect in the game that can happen to either a monster or a player character. It has a description, it has an emoji and an icon. This is a new feature that we built. I'm still trying to train my brain to match up what they are, but the best part is I can hover over it to learn what it is if I don't know. This directly correlates with our initiative tracker. So this is the initiative tracker that we showed before, but you'll see there's 2 added features. We added the Spotify pack to, I'm sorry, go ahead and do effects. We've got all the different things there. If you click one, it shows the charm, character 5, whatever, and you can hover over it and see what it is. Now, what we could do is we could change the display column of the effect table to just be the icon if we wanted to, right? So Maria, if you try and do that live, go for it.
And display column, folks who are new, it just means what's going to show up, display, when you reference it, right? So if we head back to initiative tracker, boom, look.
Now it's a list charmed, right? So, and that honestly, folks, transparency, just came up with that right now, Maria and I together.
Look at that.
We just did it. So you see, it's like constantly evolving and changing, right?
Yeah.
So you can do anything. You can have literally a list of all these different emojis on a character, if that's what you want, right? And then you just hover over each one as things resolve and change, right? But you'll also notice the Spotify pack next to it that has battle music. And you can click that, and that's interactive battle music for the thing. Once you have the pack engaged and you're logged into your account, you can do things like loop it, just loop the track. So it's constantly playing while you're in the middle of a battle. What I also love is you can put different playlists in there. If you know you're going to have multiple battles that day, you could put all those lists in, and then you don't have to click through or build or do anything like that. They're all ready to go for you. So the last one, which I'm a huge fan of, and Maria's brain was beautifully written on this, is the random encounter table. Do you want to talk about that, Maria?
I do. And Stephen had a really good question about this, which is, could you make like a random loot generator? And so the template, the pattern that we have here is a way to create random stuff. So one thing that our party does is, sometimes someone can't make it. So we just do a one shot instead. And sometimes it's, something that Dan has like pre-built in his little library of one shots, or maybe you just want to kind of get yourself thinking about what it could be. So here's how it works. I have a little Mad Lib up here, and each one of these are populated by a formula. So this is saying, look at the randomization engine, filter where the type is equal to players, and then give me a result. So, and then I do for the quest, it's filter where the type is quest. They meet, this is filter the type of person. So down here, I just start adding stuff. So let's actually add an event, which is a great water deep bake off.
I knew you were going to do that.
Right? So
Yes.
now I can add all these things. So like I could add events, I could add players, I could add rewards, I could add a twist, I could add a quest, et cetera, et cetera. And then all I need to do is click on this little generate encounter button, boop, and it's going to pull up a random set for each of these. So now I can go, great, I'm going to write a little one shot where the players are a struggling theater troupe. Their quest is to unlock the wizard's tower. They meet Joculario the bard. A twist could be someone gets a terrible stomach ache. A big event is a great water deep bake off, and the reward is the key to the city. So now my imagination can go from there.
When are we playing? When are we playing?
I know, right? So if I take a look at this, all this is doing is it's going and it's pushing a button in the randomization engine, which is a little hidden table, I believe.
Ooh,
Where did I put it?
Underneath the hood.
Where did I put it? I forget. Well, it's just doing a random bit. Yeah, it just pushes a button that essentially pulls a random amount from that, and it's then just populating it here. Now, this is clearly a favorite encounter. So I'm just going to click favorite encounter because this was so great. We had so much fun. Or actually, yeah, I'm going to say we have so much fun. And I'm going to call this When Pie Goes Bad, right? And I'm actually going to get rid of that because I just want to title this. Yeah. I could then include some notes here, maybe down in comments or add a canvas column. So now that's added to my favorite encounters. When Pie Goes Bad, Hamlet, right? I included a little rank, when we played it, and I can have all this stuff right here. So you could do this same thing with just a bunch of loot. And then click a button that says, show me a random piece of loot, and have it there for rewards and things like that. The other thing that I love about what we made is we were like, I love dice. I actually have my dice right over here, but maybe you don't have it, or maybe you're playing online and you want to have it be really nice and easy. We made a little dice rolling set here. So all of this is populated by a handy little dice table. So we have, great, if it's a D4, the high it can roll is 4, the low it can roll is 1. And then this roll button, let's take a look at how I made it. I just said, give me a random integer between the low value and the high value. So the lowest it could be is this, the highest it could be is this. So now, since these buttons are here in my let's roll dice, I can go, great, I want to choose, and this select list is just pulling from that table we just saw. Right? There it is. I can hover over it and see all the details. I'm going to roll a D6. Then this button says, great, roll your D6. It's going to then push that button inside of the dice table. Here it is. I rolled a 1 though, but maybe I want to roll 2 D20s. Maybe I'm getting ready to, I'm getting ready to do an attack. Plenty the Bard has given me advantage. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to roll 2 D20s. I'm going to click this roll dice. Then it shows me my advantage roll and my disadvantage. It's a good thing I had my advantage because otherwise I would have had a critical fail. But I can do the same thing, like maybe, and let's just reset here. Maybe I'm going to cast Healing Word at a pretty high level. So I get to roll 4 D6s. I'm going to just click on roll dice. It gives me my total up here and also all of the results. So this is just a fun little thing that we built. But I want to highlight all that's happening here is we are using a table to be the container for the results of these little buttons that are just pulling up a random integer. Then, because of the power of Coda, I can just, all of these are formulas. I'm just saying, hey, look at that rolls, take the results and sum them. For the advantage, I just click on this. I'm just doing a little switch. This means, hey, show me the results. Otherwise show me the maximum. So if it's blank, then it just says I'm ready to roll. Otherwise, show me the maximum, because advantage gives me the biggest. Disadvantage, it's the same thing. If there's no results, if it's blank, then just show I'm ready to roll. Otherwise, show me the minimum. So I'm just using this table over here to be the receptacle for all of the results. And then I'm just using these to sum up. But again, I could do this for anything where I'm dealing with numbers, right? Like if I'm dealing with my expenses, what was my highest expense, my lowest expense? I want to do some sort of seeing what could randomly happen. But this was really just something fun. And I've put all of the, I put the link to that. It's a published doc. All of you can go ahead, make your own copy.
It's published.
Yes.
It's published.
You could just make your own copy. And then like Dan's been saying over and over again, like it's all about just following your own imagination, right? If you want to add something to it, do it. If you want to add, Thomas was saying, put a YouTube pack for like character references. If you want to add a column that shows an image because everybody's made some fan art of like what their person looks like. It's all about just following your imagination and seeing where it leads you and just having fun at the end of the day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Dan, if you wanted to give advice to people who are thinking about kind of taking this doc or starting to think about how to convert their own gaming and nerddom on this most highest of holy days, May the 4th, any recommendations or advice you would give to folks who are starting to embark on their own nerdy Coda journey?
Yeah, I think with Coda, I've used every software. I've used Google, I've used OneNote, I've used them all. But with Coda, you really are only limited by your imagination. And what I'll say is, be kind to yourself. It will not be right the first time. It will not need to be perfect. It is growing with you. It is changing with you. It is evolving. And much like the stories that we build together when we play these games, it has to change and it has to grow. And that's part of the beauty of using Coda when you're using it for D&D, is it is so adaptive and creative that it's like its own character. It walks with you everywhere that you go. So take your time, be true to yourself, and just know that you can do anything, and what you're building is profoundly important to not only you but the players who are going to play with you. And trust that process, because sometimes it's very hard as a GM. You get a little overwhelmed, and when you have a great group of players or you have a great storytellers with you, it's very easy to get caught up in the beauty of collaborative storytelling. So just let your doc be a part of that storytelling, because that's what's going to make your life so much more enjoyable and not make this feel like another job you have to do. Yep.
I love that. And if I think about one of the main rules that we have in our campaign is, if it seems like fun, do it. Right?
Yeah.
Follow the fun. Follow the fun. And I just want to highlight one thing that Dan said around, it's not going to be exactly what you want the first time. For example, this starter kit that we made, when I was like, oh, I want to make it roll dice. And I started off with one way and I was like, oh man, it's making it so that advantage and disadvantage is kind of hard to calculate. Oh, what if I just change it around? I'm going to move it around and do things differently. And just like we saw here just today on the call, right? We just changed the display column to show the emoji, right? So you are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to evolve, and just follow the fun, follow the joy, because that's what it's all about. Oh, Dan, thank you so much for nerding out with me today.
Maria, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So fun.
Oh, so much fun.
And if you all have D&D questions, like Dan's on the support team, so just like send your D&D questions to Dan and to me. Have some fun with that. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Dan, and happy May the 4th.
Thanks, everybody. May the 4th.